Greetings, I am Herbert Erpaderp, and today I'm going to build some armoured cars. Specifically, these Daimler armoured cars for Flames of War. These are 15mm or, if you prefer, 1/100th scale plastic wargaming models, and the kit allows you to build 4 vehicles. 2 Daimler armoured cars, I think they might be Mark II, and 2 Daimler dingoes. The back of the box tells us their names and all. How convenient. Also convenient are the exploded diagrams, which serve as instructions. This is because no physical instructions are included inside the box. However, if you like, there is a slightly more in-depth assembly guide you can find on the Flames of War website, and I'll include a link for that below. Alternatively, you could just watch the rest of this video. That would be pretty cool in my opinion. Inside the box we find 2 sprues moulded in green plastic. You get 1 of each vehicle per sprue. These are, unsurprisingly, quite well moulded. There are mould lines of course, but there always are, and for the most part they're hardly noticeable. You won't need to spend a whole lot of time cleaning these parts up. This is pretty much the high quality that I've come to expect of recent Flames of War plastic kits. The detailing here is rather good. I particularly like the side parts of the Daimler armoured car. For a single piece it has some rather good depth to it. You can even see some suspension detail in above the wheels. Very cool. You do have to keep in mind though that this is a wargaming kit, plus it is quite small, so it's not going to be quite as detailed as a 1/35th scale display model for example. That's obviously not what it was designed for. That said, it does still look quite good and it's going to represent these armoured cars quite well on the gaming table, especially once they've been painted. You also get a sprue of commander figures. These are the same as you'll find in pretty much every British tank kit from Flames of War, and they're pretty decent. The kit does not include decals, which seems to be the standard for Flames of War now, unfortunately. However, you do get one of these stat cards. It does stat card things. This is pretty useful if you're forgetful like I am. You don't need to memorise the vehicle's information while playing the game because it's right there. Very good. Let's start gluing bits of plastic together. I started with the larger car, which I decided to magnetise. Magnets aren't plastic, fool! Well, that's true. Let's start by gluing bits of plastic and metal together. Magnetising this model is pretty simple. I use my magnet on a stick tool to ensure that I'm putting all of the magnets on in a consistent way. That way all of the turrets will work with all of the hulls. I know there's only 2 of each here, but they will be compatible with every other turret and tank that I've got, so that could be fun. I have done a slightly more in-depth video about this process if you would like to check that out, and I'll link it in the description. Once that's done, I build the turret. This is quite simple. You start by gluing the turret bottom part into the main body of it. The fit is pretty good, though you might need to apply a little pressure so it goes together properly. Then, in the recess on the turret's right side, we glue this panel with the antenna mount and smoke launchers. That little nub at the bottom of the plate should be there, so don't scrape it off. Then, I install the hatch. This does have a lot of lateral play to it, so you'll have to get it centered yourself, though that is pretty easy. If you wanted, you could model this open and put a crew figure in there, though, as usual, I've chosen not to do this. Then, on the front of the turret, where you would expect to find it, I install the main gun. This is very simple to attach, like pretty much everything in this kit really. You get a choice here. You can install the regular 2-pounder, which is a pretty good looking little gun. I did debate whether or not I should drill the barrel out, but in the end I decided not to because it's so small. The other gun we could use is also a 2-pounder, but it has the little John attachment. As I understand it, this worked with special ammunition, and it would sort of compress the round as it was leaving the gun. This would increase the weapon's effectiveness. Obviously I didn't just know that off the top of my head, I was curious about it and looked it up. Anyway, you can use whichever gun you like, though they do obviously have different stats in the game. I made one of each. Moving along, why not now build the hull? It would be a good place to put that turret, wouldn't it? I start by gluing the hull sides onto the central part. This is simple and the parts are shaped such that it's pretty much impossible to put this together wrong. Not without it being very obvious that something isn't right anyway, and you probably don't want to do that, so just don't. Applying pressure to the side parts is probably actually a little bit redundant here, but I did it anyway because of reasons. It's looking pretty good from the sides if you ask me, especially considering the low number of parts here. To make sure that the glue god is appeased, I apply plenty of glue, and then install the hull top. This fits quite well, and this time the pressure was needed, but nothing too severe. Then on the front of the hull I attached this, what looks like a stowage box with a machine gun mount on the front of it. I'm not sure that's actually what it is though. Either way, the part more or less just drops right into place. On the hull rear, and I know this is going to come as quite a shock to some of you, we attach the rear plate. This also pretty much just drops right into place, unless you're going to try dropping it in upside down or something silly like that. And just like that, all of the main parts of the hull are together. Now to add a couple of extra details. On the left side of the hull, I added this spare wheel because that can be a really important thing to carry. I wasn't totally sure if I was putting this on correctly, but in the end it looked fine, and that's really what matters. On the other side I glue this, whatever you call these rampy things. Looking at the exploded diagram to figure out how this should sit was a little bit tricky, but the pictures on the Flames of War website did help, and hopefully this video will also help. I'm pretty sure I put this on correctly. Same with this block of fuel tins. Initially I did put this on wrong, but after looking at the pictures I was able to correct it. I'm pretty sure these parts are optional, but I think they look good, so obviously I've put them on. There are no other stowage or detail-y parts, which would be nice, but this is fine. That's the Daimler Armoured car hull completed, and we can finish the model by attaching the turret, which will be held nicely in place with the magnets. The alternative to magnetization is a little plastic pin that you can install on the bottom of the turret, but I think the magnets are way cooler. Because I built both turret variants, I can even demonstrate what both versions of the model look like. That's right, exactly the same, except for the end of the gun of course. It is a pretty cool looking vehicle if you ask me, but of course, it's not the only vehicle that you can build with this kit. Now I shall turn this pile of bits into a dingo. Not that kind of dingo. Building this vehicle is pretty similar to the other one, at least to start off with. You glue the two side parts onto a central part. These parts don't quite drop together, and you might need to do a little bit of kajiggering, but they do go together quite easily, and you should definitely be able to tell if you've done it wrong. I apply some pressure to ensure a good bond, and then it's time to add the upper hull. Again, quite a bit of glue to ensure that the glue god will smile upon us and our bonds, and then pressure. This did need a fair bit of force to stay together without having any gaps form. The result is a pretty good looking and almost completed dingo. This is a very simple model. Next I add the front wall of the fighting compartment. This goes into place nice and easily thanks to the keying. I do enjoy a nice bit of keying. There's a slot in the front wall into which we install this Bren gun. It doesn't seem like there's anything to guide the exact positioning of this, but I think I got it more or less in the correct place, and it looks rather shooty. It looks pretty good, but I did kind of want to build this with the roof closed. I wanted to do that because the fighting compartment has a floor that's way too high. It seems like having the roof closed is not an option though, so maybe using a crew figure will hide that. If you saw the stream you'll know that I test fitted a crew figure, but I didn't video it. Oh well. The final step is to add the roof, which is in the open position. It folds back over the engine deck and there are support poles moulded into the part. These do kind of look like sprue, so try to resist the urge to clip them off when you take this part off of the sprue, otherwise you'll have nothing to hold the hatch up and that wouldn't be much fun. At any rate, that's the Daimler Dingo done. Very nice, quick and easy. And as you might suspect, that's the Flames of War British Daimler Armoured Car Troop completed. I'm quite happy with this kit. It's turned out great and it was really enjoyable to put together. This is one of those kits you can quickly whip together in an afternoon, and so you get to see the results nice and fast. That can be really satisfying and sometimes it's just what you need. Obviously this is intended as a wargaming kit, and it fills that role very well. You can, if you want, use it as a display piece, though that's not really what it's intended for. Still, there's going to be somebody who doesn't get that, and says something like, "X brand of 35th scale kit has better detail!" For what this kit is though, the detail is great, and it'll represent these two vehicles on your gaming table quite well, and once there's paint on them they should look fantastic. That said, I don't plan on painting this kit in the immediate future, though it does look like it would be fun to paint. If that is something you would really like to see, let me know in the comments below and I'll consider adding it to my queue. Building this kit was, as I said, quite fun, and it was really simple. I suppose that probably is a consideration they take when designing wargaming kits. It's probably important to your average wargamer to get your forces built relatively quickly. The only issues I had when putting this together were really related to the instructions. some of the angles that things were shown at didn't really provide enough information for me to be certain that I was putting parts on correctly. The Flames of War website does help with its pictures, and now that this video exists, maybe this will help anybody else who's a bit unsure. That is of course assuming that I've done it right. That's a pretty big assumption! Yeah, I know. Anyway, I think it's a good kit. I would certainly recommend it for anybody who wants some Daimlers for their 15mm scale British forces, or anybody who just wants some tiny little armoured cars just for the fun of it. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to put those in the comments section below. That's what it's for. If you've built one of these or any other cool models and you would like to share, why not drop by our Discord community and show some pictures? We'd really like to see what you've done. If you would like to watch me building kits like this live, head on over to my Twitch channel and give me a follow. You can find the link in the description below. And if you've not already done so, why not subscribe, follow, ring the bell, become a patron if you want to see my videos a bit early, or maybe just come say hi on Discord or Twitch when I'm live. Links to all of my things are in the description below, and as always, I shall return soon. So until then, be excellent to each other, and thanks for watching. Farewell.